God says, "A woman's evil plan against you has backfired horribly, and just 3 hours ago, she was struck by the weight of her own darkness. What was meant to harm you has been turned into a testimony of divine protection, and where her intentions were rooted in jealousy, bitterness, and harm, God stepped in with a shield of grace so strong that it silenced every whisper of evil sent your way. In this very moment, heaven is still moving on your behalf, and though your heart may still tremble from the fear of what could have been, let peace begin to settle in, because God has spoken." Type Amen if you believe God's protection is greater than any plan formed against you. There are things you will never fully understand in this life, and sometimes the pain caused by others leaves a mark deeper than we expect, especially when the attack is personal, hidden, or comes from someone who pretended to care. You may have felt the sting of betrayal, the sharp ache of confusion, the storm of emotions that come when you learn that someone has plotted against your peace and well-being. But the truth is this: God saw everything long before you knew. He watched in silence, not because he wasn't working, but because he was preparing a perfect response that would not only protect you, but would reveal his glory through your deliverance. It didn't take him by surprise. The lies spoken in secret places, the manipulation, the twisting of truth to hurt your name or your peace, none of it was missed by the one who knows the depths of every heart. Even in the moments when you felt alone, uncertain, or afraid of what was happening behind your back, God was already stepping in between you and the harm. He was setting boundaries, raising barriers, and releasing angels to stand on guard around you. You may not have seen it with your eyes, but your spirit was protected. Your destiny was untouched. Your name was not destroyed. God has a way of turning darkness into light, shame into honor, pain into testimony. That woman's plot was never going to prosper, not because she didn't try hard enough, but because the hand of God was covering you the whole time. Her words may have reached ears, but they didn't reach the heart of the Father. Her traps may have been laid with precision, but the moment she moved against you, she was moving against God himself, and no one stands against the Lord and wins. There's peace in knowing that the harm didn't reach you. There's deeper peace in realizing that you didn't have to fight back for justice to be done. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't have to beg anyone to believe you. God did what only he can do. In silence and in power, he shifted everything. He lifted you out of the reach of the storm and caused the one who sent it to stumble in her own bitterness. Type 333 if you trust that God is already fighting battles you can't even see. This was never about that woman. It was about God showing you how deeply he loves you. When the enemy uses people to try and shake your peace, your future, or your identity, it is a reminder of just how special your life really is. The attack confirms the calling. The hatred reveals the light inside you. But most of all, the way it all backfired is the loudest proof of divine favor resting on your life. God didn't let it happen. Not because you begged, not because you tried to be perfect, but because he chose you. And when he chooses someone, no evil can rewrite that. Now you are being carried into a season of rest, a time where you will breathe again and smile without the weight of that attack on your back. You will look around and see how nothing was broken that God couldn't heal. The pain was real, but it did not last. The tears you cried were gathered like treasures by the Father, and he has stored them in heaven with your name on them, preparing a blessing so great that even the memory of the attack will fade beneath the goodness that's coming. So walk forward. Don't look back. Don't try to make sense of why she did what she did. You don't need to understand brokenness to walk in wholeness. Leave it with God. Trust that what he did today, striking down the very evil planned against you, is a glimpse of how seriously he takes your life, your peace, your journey. You are not walking alone. You never were. And even when it felt like the enemy had the upper hand, heaven was already writing the victory story. Heaven never looked away, and God never stopped working on your behalf. His justice does not always come with loud thunder or flashing signs. Sometimes, it shows up in quiet, firm, and unforgettable ways, like when a hidden evil turns on itself and the one who set the trap ends up falling into it. Type 888 if you know God always turns evil into good for His children. You may not have seen the full extent of what was done, but your soul likely felt the heaviness. There were days you felt unusually tired, emotionally drained, anxious for no clear reason. That was the weight of spiritual warfare, the tension between what was forming against you and what God was already breaking apart before it touched you. The heaviness wasn't because you were weak, it was because you were being protected from a deeper harm. And today, as the plan falls apart before your eyes, you can breathe again. You can step into this moment knowing that God covered every inch of what tried to harm you. What if the fastest path to wealth was already inside your mind, waiting to be activated by a powerful sound wave? Scientists call it the money-attracting frequency, and once awakened, it begins drawing opportunities, success, and financial freedom like never before. Imagine the relief of no more bills and the joy of living your dreams. This is more than an offer. It is a divine turning point. Your destiny is waiting, but only if you choose to move now. Click the link in the video description and comments below to turn on this ancient brainwave today. This woman, fueled by jealousy and unspoken resentment, allowed her heart to become a doorway for the enemy to work through. Her intent was never just to upset you, it was to stop you, to slow you down, to poison how others saw you, and perhaps even cause you to question who you are. But God doesn't allow His beloved to be destroyed by lies, and that's why her words didn't hold weight. That's why her schemes unraveled at the seams. The trap she set became the place she stumbled, and what was formed in bitterness has now backfired in truth. She didn't just fail. She was stopped by the hand of God Himself. And while her heart may still be consumed by the fallout of her choices, your heart is free. You're not bound to the pain anymore. You're not held by the fear of what could have happened. You're not walking in the shadow of that attack. You are rising in the light of God's mercy, holding the strength of someone who was fought for by heaven, not because you demanded justice, but because you were chosen to be preserved. Type 222 if you know no one can destroy what God protects. You don't need to carry bitterness. What happened didn't ruin you. It revealed how deeply God cares about every detail of your life. It showed that when someone moves against you unjustly, heaven doesn't stay silent. You may have wanted to speak up. You may have wanted to defend yourself. But something told you to stay quiet. Something told you to wait. That something was the Holy Spirit, gently reminding you that the battle wasn't yours. You didn't need to shout your innocence to the world, because your Father was already declaring it over you. And now, you get to move forward without the burden of revenge, without the heaviness of confusion, without the sharp sting of betrayal. You get to walk in peace. That woman's actions may have been a weapon, but they were never going to prosper. She might have used people, words, lies, or silence, but none of it carried more power than God's hand over your life. He saw how much you cried. He felt the ache you couldn't put into words, and He answered not just with protection, but with evidence. This moment is your reminder that evil doesn't win, even when it hides itself in smiles, even when it cloaks itself in false concern, even when it tries to blend in as something harmless. God sees it all. He separates it. He tears it down before it can reach your soul, and sometimes He lets you witness the fall not to make you gloat, but to heal the part of you that was wounded by the storm. You are being restored now, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Every lie spoken about you is losing its grip. Every harmful whisper is being silenced. Every ounce of doubt that tried to form in your mind is being replaced by confidence that you didn't create on your own. It's coming from God, from the one who allowed you to feel pain, but never allowed you to be destroyed by it. There's something sacred in what you just walked through. The storm revealed things you didn't see before. It showed you who was truly for you, It exposed who pretended well, but most of all it reminded you that you are never unseen by heaven. Every broken plan has a name behind it, and that name will never be more powerful than the one who holds you. Let your heart rest. The worst of it is over. The woman who plotted in secret has been exposed in silence. You don't need to tell your story in full for others to see the truth. Let God tell it through your peace. Let Him show it through your healing. That is the greatest testimony of all, not that you fought back, but that you kept walking, still kind, still faithful, still standing. And here you are now, held in love, wrapped in mercy, stepping out of what was meant to bury you, and stepping into what will bless you. There are blessings coming that are tied to the pain you just walked through. There is purpose growing in the soil of what was meant to hurt you. Trust that every tear had meaning, and every moment of silence was filled with unseen protection. You are not forgotten, you are not broken, you are not ruined. You are reborn in the care of the one who writes endings that always glorify His name. The woman who plotted behind your back, whose intentions were soaked in envy and hidden cruelty, thought she could steal what God placed in your hands. But God is not mocked, and when His child is under attack, He moves swiftly and with purpose. What was meant to harm you has not only failed, it has reversed course entirely, leaving the one who formed the plan to deal with the very weight of her own evil. Type yes to affirm that no plan formed against you shall succeed. You are not just a survivor of betrayal, you are a living example of divine rescue. When it felt like things were falling apart and you couldn't explain why, when your spirit was troubled and your peace kept slipping through your hands, God was already in motion. He was guarding your spirit, shielding your future, and stepping between you and the lies that were never meant to define you. You didn't need to fight back in the ways of the world because your protection was not rooted in fear, it was wrapped in God's faithfulness. This woman, who allowed the enemy to twist her heart into something cold and destructive, had her moment. She moved forward thinking she would succeed, thinking your silence was weakness and your kindness meant defeat. But heaven has never lost a battle, and those who walk with God are never left defenseless. Her plan collapsed not by your hand, but by the hand of a just and holy God who refuses to let His children be overcome by evil. After decades in government lockdown, a short 9-word phrase has resurfaced, and those who whisper it daily are experiencing miracles of money and freedom. Researchers say it switches on a hidden abundance circuit in the brain, the same one billionaires unknowingly rely on. It's easy, fast, and astonishingly powerful. Click the link before this rare discovery is censored again. She may have spoken words behind closed doors, tried to ruin your name, or paint false pictures of your character. Maybe she manipulated situations, told twisted half-truths, or masked hatred as concern. But God sees not just actions, He sees the heart. He sees what others don't, and in His time, He brings every hidden motive into the light, not for you to seek revenge, but so your soul can find peace and freedom again. Type 1212 if you walk by faith, not by fear. You have to understand this. Your peace is proof of God's presence. You didn't collapse under pressure. You didn't let bitterness take root. You didn't mirror the hate sent your way. And that's what makes you unstoppable in God's hands. Because even when evil tried to mold your story, you stayed in the potter's hands, and He continued shaping you with love, healing, and grace. Her plan was only a chapter, not the ending. And today, God is turning the page. Healing takes time, and it's okay if your heart still hurts. It's okay if your mind still replays the shock of finding out the truth. Betrayal isn't just an action, it's a wound. But it is not the end. And slowly, you will begin to see that God is rebuilding what she tried to tear down. He is restoring your joy. He is repairing what her words tried to shatter. And best of all, He is lifting you higher than before, not as a reward for suffering, but as a demonstration of His unshakable promise to always deliver His people. You may never receive an apology. She may never admit what she did, and that's okay. Your healing is not dependent on her confession, it's rooted in God's restoration. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means giving the pain to God and refusing to let it poison your future. You were never meant to stay stuck in that place of sorrow. You were never meant to carry the weight of someone else's brokenness. You were created for peace, for purpose, for joy that lasts. And now that God has removed what was meant to destroy you, you will begin to see just how much He has been preparing you for what's next. New doors will open, not because you forced them to, but because you remained faithful. You stayed kind. You kept your spirit soft, even when the world told you to harden. That's who you are, a child of God. Not defined by other people's actions, but by the love of a Father who always defends His own. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is not seeing someone punished, it's living in peace while they live with the consequences of what they did. And trust this, she will feel the weight of her actions, not from your anger, but from God's correction. What she meant for evil has now become her burden to carry, and what she sent to destroy you has been transformed into something that will build you up. You don't need to announce your healing. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let the peace in your heart speak louder than your words. Let the calm in your spirit be your answer. You survived something spiritual, something deep and dark, and you did it without losing your soul. That is strength, that is grace, that is victory. Let go of the need to understand why. Let go of the urge to replay what happened. Trust that God has already settled it, and while you walk into brighter days, know that He is already working in places you haven't even seen yet. The same God who defended you in silence will promote you in the open. The same hand that blocked the attack will now lift you into something greater. You are not broken, you are not weak. You are chosen. And this moment, this healing, this protection, it's not just for now. It's a part of a greater story that God is writing in your life. A story of resilience, a story of redemption, a story of light overcoming darkness every single time. Just 3 hours ago, her own intentions turned inward and struck her spirit with a force she could not contain. She expected your fall, your silence, your despair, but instead, she is now the one facing the emptiness that comes when you move against someone protected by heaven. Type 1919 to receive divine protection over everything that concerns your life. What happened to you was never fair. The betrayal wasn't something you deserved, and the weight you carried was far heavier than anyone knew. There were nights you laid awake trying to figure out what went wrong, days where your joy faded into shadows, moments where you tried to smile but felt something broken just beneath the surface. You held on to God, even when it felt like everything around you was shaking, and that's exactly what saved you. Your faith, your refusal to become what tried to hurt you, your quiet trust in the one who sees the unseen, that's what turned the storm away from your heart. This woman's plan was not simple. It wasn't random. It was crafted from a place of deep envy, from wounds she never dealt with, from pride that blinded her to the consequences of her actions. She may have smiled in your face while planning your downfall. She may have pretended to be close, to be kind, to be loyal, but in the hidden places of her heart, a bitterness was growing, and she fed it with every lie she told, every false word she whispered about you. What she didn't realize was that she was never dealing with just you, she was touching something holy. God does not sit back when one of His beloved is being attacked. Even if the world sees nothing, even if people are convinced by the lies, even if your name is dragged through places it never belonged, He steps in, and He waits until just the right moment. Not to shame, not to destroy, but to reveal truth and uphold the righteous. That is what's happening now. What she meant for harm has not only failed, it has become the very thing that reveals the strength of God's covering over your life. Type 333 if you know the truth will always rise, no matter how long it's been buried. A secret 9-word prayer, once classified under a forgotten program, is now reshaping lives across the globe. People are seeing unexpected deposits, financial breakthroughs, and emotional peace within days of using it. Scientists confirm it rewires the subconscious to attract prosperity naturally. It takes seconds, but the results can last a lifetime. Don't delay, click the link before it disappears. It's not easy to walk through seasons like this. You may feel tired, unsure, or even numb at times. There's a heaviness that comes when someone you trusted turns into the very person who tries to harm you, but you didn't let it change your heart. That matters more than anything. You held on to goodness. You chose grace over revenge. You trusted God even when it didn't make sense. And now, He's rewarding that trust not with vengeance but with peace, not with public battles, but with personal healing. You didn't need her apology to heal, though it would have helped. You didn't need anyone to validate your pain. God already saw it. And now, He's doing something better than what you could have asked for. He's restoring you in ways that go beyond what was taken. He's mending not just what was broken, but what you didn't even realize had been wounded along the way. This healing isn't just about the past, it's about the future. He's still shaping for you. Let yourself breathe again. Let yourself believe again. You are not who she said you were. You are not the things that were spoken over your name. You are not the character she tried to destroy. You are a child of God, deeply loved, purposefully formed, and eternally protected. No human hand can take that from you. No lie can erase the truth that God wrote into your life before you even took your first breath. This is your turning point. The moment when everything that was working against you begins to fall apart. Not by force, not by your effort, but by divine interference. God stepped in. He blocked it. He reversed it. He silenced it. And now, He's lifting you. The days ahead will look different because the weight has been removed. The burden of defending yourself, of proving your worth, of explaining your side, that's over now. You don't owe anyone a story. Let your peace speak for itself. What she did is between her and God now. You don't need to carry it anymore. You don't need to stay stuck in memories that only bring pain. Forgiveness isn't saying what happened was okay. It's saying it no longer has power over your joy. It's choosing to walk away from what tried to hold you down and walk into the light that's been waiting for you. You didn't lose anything that God can't replace. You didn't miss out on anything that was meant for you. This journey forward will not be heavy. It will not be haunted. It will not be shaped by the actions of others. It will be blessed. It will be gentle. It will be new. And though the scars may remain, they will be reminders of how far you've come, not proof of how much you've suffered. You are stronger now, wiser, closer to God, and no longer afraid of what people can do, because you've seen what God can undo. You have been spared, you have been redeemed, and you will be restored in ways that silence every accusation, every lie, and every shadow of doubt. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something holy, something peaceful, something full of the kind of joy that no one can take from you. That woman who looked at your life with jealous eyes and plotted in silence never expected that the harm she intended would become the very stone that breaks her own path. Just 3 hours ago, what she meant to send against you turned back toward her like a wave she could no longer hold back, and now she stands in the wreckage of her own making. You, however, are still standing graced, covered, and untouched in spirit. Type 666 if you trust Jesus to always stand between you and every storm. There is a quiet kind of strength that comes from enduring what others never knew you faced. You didn't cry out for sympathy. You didn't beg for justice. You simply endured. You kept showing up, kept loving, kept walking in the light, even when darkness tried to circle you. And now, heaven is answering, not with noise, not with drama, but with undeniable peace. You may not have asked for a miracle, but one has been unfolding around you this entire time, and now the veil is being lifted. You see, God doesn't always stop the weapon from being formed, but He never allows it to prosper. This truth has been written across your life like a shield. What she formed in secret, those harsh words, those manipulations, those efforts to make others turn on you, they were noticed, not just by a few around you, but by the one who rules above all. And while she was busy planning your downfall, God was securing your future. There's a kind of protection that doesn't look like anything from the outside. It's not loud. It doesn't always come with signs. But it's real, and you felt it even if you didn't fully understand it. You felt the nudge to stay quiet, the whisper to take the high road, the strength to walk away from conversations you could have fueled. That wasn't you being passive, that was you being led. God knew what was coming, and He prepared your heart so that when the storm reached its peak, you would still be at peace inside. She wanted to be the reason you broke, the reason you lost favor, the reason people questioned your character, but God flipped it. He used her schemes to reveal the purity of your spirit. He used her deception to spotlight your truth. And now the very lies that were meant to bury you are becoming the soil where your testimony will grow. Type 2323 if you know God is already turning your pain into purpose. There is such a sweetness in the way God works. He doesn't just block the enemy's plan, He uses it to bless you. He doesn't just stop the storm, He uses it to water the seeds He planted in your life. What this woman did was meant to crush something inside of you, but instead, it awakened something far greater. Your faith is stronger now. Your heart is softer, not colder. Your roots are deeper in Him than they've ever been. She lost more than she realized when she rose against you, because you were never standing alone. What if 7 minutes could rewrite your financial future forever? This hidden frequency, backed by neuroscience, flips the brain's natural wealth switch, unleashing unstoppable prosperity. People are calling it the money magnet sound, and it's already transforming lives. But hesitation means missing out while others move ahead. This is your moment to act. Click the link in the video description and comments below to awaken the wealth inside you today before the chance slips away. And now, she's facing what happens when someone touches what God has covered. It isn't always loud or public. Sometimes it's quiet and private, just like the harm was. But make no mistake, God is a defender. He is a just Father. He does not overlook the cries of the wounded. He steps in, and He brings everything into balance. That's what this moment is. Not revenge, not cruelty, but holy correction. You don't have to celebrate her fall to honor your healing. You don't have to wish her harm to walk in your joy. But you do have permission to feel relieved, to breathe again, to walk without watching your back. Because the season of being under spiritual attack has ended. God has spoken over the situation, and His voice carries more weight than any word ever spoken against you. This is your permission to let go. Let go of the confusion. Let go of the need to understand her reasons. Let go of the why me. You don't need closure from her. God already closed the door. What she tried to do has already failed. And where she thought she could control your peace, God has proven that no one holds your heart but Him. You are walking into a new day, a lighter season, a softer atmosphere. And in this new space, God is giving back what was stolen in silence. The energy you lost from worry, the sleep you missed from stress, the joy that faded while you waited for answers, it's all returning. But not just returning, it's returning multiplied. Because God does not just restore, He elevates, He increases, He renews. You may look back and still feel some sting, but even that will fade. What will remain is the clarity, the growth, the evidence that you were never alone and never unprotected. You will rise from this not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Not with anger, but with insight. And not with vengeance, but with victory. Because that's who you are in Christ. Not a victim, but an overcomer. Not broken, but beloved. And what's coming next will be filled with such peace, you'll wonder how you ever carried so much pain. You'll sit in moments of laughter and forget that sorrow once lived where joy now flows. This is what healing looks like. Not a moment, a journey, and you are already in it. That woman who allowed jealousy and bitterness to poison her heart tried to bring your spirit down, but the Lord surrounded you with mercy like a wall of fire. Just 3 hours ago, she was struck not by human force, but by the undeniable consequences of trying to touch what is sacred to God. What she meant for your ruin has become her own collapse, and you are walking free, covered in grace, untouched in soul. Type Amen if you believe God's justice never fails. You may not know the full story of how God shielded you, and that's okay. There are things He protects us from that we'll never even realize, because His love goes that deep. What matters now is not what she did, but what He did for you. When the betrayal was unfolding, when your heart was breaking and your trust was slipping away, God was already working to turn it around. He saw every moment your eyes filled with tears. He heard the silent prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. And He moved not with noise, but with power. Her plan failed because it had no foundation. It was built on lies, fueled by envy, and rooted in pride. And pride always leads to a fall. God allowed her to build the illusion of success in her plan, not to confuse you, but to reveal the truth in time. Because when God brings things to light, He does it in a way that leaves no questions. That's why, just hours ago, what she sent out turned back on her, like a storm she could no longer escape. Her words returned to her, her plots unraveled in her hands. Her intentions fell apart before her eyes. And you didn't have to lift a finger. That's the kind of God you serve, a Father who defends His children even in silence. A Savior who stands in the shadows when you're too tired to fight. A gentle protector who blocks arrows before you ever see them. You were never fighting this battle alone. Heaven was already at work. And now that the battle has shifted, your soul can breathe again. You can finally rest, knowing that what was meant to shake you has instead strengthened you. Type 222 if you trust that God is working, even when it's quiet. There's something sacred about the way God brings you through the fire without letting it burn you. You were in the middle of something you couldn't control, something that felt unfair, confusing, and heavy. But it didn't break you. It didn't steal your spirit. It didn't destroy your faith. If anything, it made you more aware of God's presence. You began to see His fingerprints in the small moments, how you still had strength when you shouldn't have, how you still found peace in moments of chaos, how your spirit remained soft when bitterness tried to grow. That wasn't by chance, that was by grace. This woman's actions may have changed how you see people. They may have made you more cautious, more guarded. And that's okay. You are learning. You are healing. But never let her actions make you forget who you are. You are not defined by the pain someone caused you. You are defined by the love that saved you. You are God's. And nothing she did, no matter how cruel or calculating, could take that away. Forgiveness is not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's not about excusing what she did. It's about freeing your own heart from carrying what God has already handled. You don't need to punish her. God already allowed the consequences to fall where they belonged. What you need now is peace. A peace that says, it happened, but it didn't win. A peace that whispers, you're still whole. A peace that reminds you, God saw it all, and He acted. The truth is simple: you were created for abundance, yet a dormant brain signal has been holding you back. Scientists call it the money-attracting frequency, and once awakened, it pulls wealth into your life like never before. Others who pressed play once are already transformed, living the life they dreamed of. Do not hesitate or let regret steal this chance. Click the link in the video description and comments below to unlock your prosperity now. Let yourself feel the release. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart begin to dream again. The season of attack is over, the night has passed, and now a new day is rising over your life, filled with the kind of warmth that only comes after a long storm. You will smile without forcing it. You will laugh without heaviness. You will walk without fear of who might turn against you. Because the woman who tried to harm you has no power anymore, and the God who held you still holds your future. Healing will continue, and it may come in quiet waves. Some days will feel easier than others. But through it all, God will be right there, guiding every step. He is not finished with your story. In fact, He is just beginning to unfold the beauty that will rise from this. What was meant to silence you will become the very thing that deepens your voice. What was meant to isolate you will strengthen your connections to people who truly love you. What was meant to make you question your worth will become the fire that refines your purpose. And one day, sooner than you think, you will look back on this moment not with pain, but with awe. You will remember how low you felt and how high God lifted you. You will remember the tears, but they will be distant memories, softened by the joy that replaced them. You will see the full circle of God's justice and understand that He never allows harm without using it for something holy. So walk forward now, knowing you are not broken, you are blessed, you are not forgotten. You are favored, you are not wounded, you are being renewed. Let this be your truth. Let this be your anchor. God has spoken, and nothing formed against you will ever succeed. The proof is already unfolding. But just 3 hours ago, everything she set in motion turned around, and the very pit she dug for you became the one she stumbled into. No one touches my beloved and walks away unchanged. And you, child, are covered more deeply than you know, loved more fiercely than you feel, and held more securely than any enemy can ever shake. Type 1111 if you trust in God's divine protection over your life. You didn't see it coming. She was subtle. Her words were soft when they needed to be, sharp when she thought no one would hear. She smiled with you, perhaps even prayed with you, but her heart carried something unspoken, something that grew behind closed doors, far from the truth, far from love. You gave her trust, and she broke it. But in that very moment, as the crack appeared in your peace, God stood up, not to watch, but to intervene. There's something deeply holy about how God responds when someone tries to harm His children. He doesn't rush, He doesn't panic. He allows enough time to reveal what needs revealing, and then, in one swift turn, He corrects it with clarity. He doesn't simply stop the evil, He dismantles it piece by piece, so thoroughly that even the one who formed the plan cannot recognize its remains. That is what's happened. That woman is now facing not just the consequences of her choices, but the absence of God's covering, because she chose to walk in deceit rather than truth. And you, the one who was targeted in silence, now stand in the light. You don't need to defend your name. You don't need to explain what happened to those who were never meant to understand. God is making sure that your story continues, unshaken, and that your heart is restored, untouched by the poison that tried to sink into it. What was designed to break you has been shattered instead. There were days you questioned your worth, not because you doubted God, but because the attacks were so subtle, so confusing, so personal. You wondered if maybe you had done something wrong. Maybe you had imagined the tension. You gave grace where you should have had boundaries. You stayed soft, hoping it would bring peace. But nothing you could have done would have stopped her, because this wasn't about you. It was about the light in you and the enemy's hatred for it. You see, people who carry unhealed hearts are often used by darkness without even realizing it. That woman may not have understood just how deep her harm was. She may have convinced herself it was justified or harmless. But her intentions, whether she spoke them aloud or not, were seen fully by God. And the moment her heart turned toward destruction, He began moving in your favor. You didn't even have to cry out. You just had to endure. And now, the justice of God is showing up like the sunrise, undeniable, warm, and filled with peace. Type 2020 to claim the miracle that is already forming from your pain. There is healing in this moment, even if you don't feel it yet. Your spirit may still be bruised. Your thoughts may still wander to the things that were said or done. But healing isn't instant, it's a promise unfolding slowly. And it's already begun. God is washing over the places in you that felt violated, betrayed, misused. He's speaking softly to the parts of you that grew quiet out of self-protection. He's waking up your confidence again, your smile, your joy. It's all coming back. Because nothing was truly stolen, it was just buried for a while, under the weight of someone else's sin. You are not defined by what she did. You are defined by the way God protected you. By the way you kept walking in love when it would have been easier to grow cold. By the way you chose silence over gossip. By the way you trusted that God would speak for you. That is strength. That is victory. That is Christ in you. This 9-word phrase was once buried under government secrecy, but now it's resurfacing, sparking a global wave of prosperity stories. Experts reveal it reactivates a money magnet section of your brain most people never use. Say it once daily and watch financial blocks vanish. But this page could vanish too. Click the link in the description and comments before it's gone. And now, something new is being born. A version of you that has seen evil but did not become it. A version of you that stood in fire but didn't smell like smoke. A version of you that can forgive not because she deserves it, but because you deserve peace. That's what forgiveness is. A gift you give yourself, not a pass for someone else's wrongs. And God will help you do it, gently, fully, and in time. Don't rush this process. Let your heart mend. Let your emotions settle. Let your soul rest. And in that rest, God will begin to rebuild the parts of you that were shaken. Not just rebuilt as they were, but stronger, deeper, more aware. Not guarded, but wise. Not suspicious, but discerning. You're not going back to who you were before the pain. You're becoming someone even more aligned with heaven. This isn't just about recovery, it's about rising. The kind of rising that happens after you've been pushed down, overlooked, betrayed, and misunderstood, yet you still stand up with kindness in your heart and purpose in your hands. That is what you are walking into. And though it hurts now, one day soon you'll look back and thank God not just for what He removed, but for what He made clear. That woman was never meant to walk with you into your next season. And now that she's been removed by her own missteps, your path is clear. Keep walking, keep trusting. Keep praying, not just for yourself, but for her as well. Because the greatest mark of healing is not when we forget the pain, but when we stop wishing for someone else to feel it. But heaven intervened. Just 3 hours ago, the woman who plotted in secret faced a reckoning she never expected. The same tongue that spoke harm now trembles with regret, and the same heart that wished destruction has met the result of touching what belongs to me. You, my beloved, were never without covering, and no part of your journey was ever left unguarded. Type yes to affirm that what the enemy meant for evil, God is using for good. You may not have had the words for what was happening, but your spirit felt it. A heaviness would sit on your chest when you thought about her. A quiet tension would rise when her name entered the room, and still, you tried to love her well. You tried to see the best in her, to hold space for change, to believe that maybe it wasn't what it felt like. That is the goodness in you. That is the mercy God placed in your heart. But what you didn't see was how far the deception had grown, how the whispers behind your back became full sentences, and how her false kindness became a mask for deep resentment. And even still, God kept you. He didn't just keep your heart soft, He kept your steps ordered, He kept your life from falling apart. He preserved your purpose while people tried to write false endings for your story. He let things play out until the moment came when truth had to rise, when every hidden thing had to come into the light. That moment came, and she felt the weight of it. You didn't have to speak up. You didn't have to beg to be heard. God did the speaking. And when God speaks, nothing stands in the way. You've been walking through the kind of battle that doesn't leave bruises on the skin, but it wears on the soul. The confusion, the feeling of being watched, judged, talked about without reason. The shift in how others treated you, the questions that had no answers. That was spiritual warfare, and you stood in the middle of it with grace that only God could provide. Your quiet endurance was not weakness. It was strength refined through fire. It was proof that God doesn't just save us, He sustains us. Type 1212 if you walk by faith and not by sight. Let this be your moment to exhale, to feel the burden slide off your shoulders. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are not weak for being hurt. What happened was real. What she tried to do was cruel. And the healing that's unfolding now is holy. You are not just recovering from what was done. You are stepping into the reward of what was survived. There is favor on the other side of suffering. There is clarity after the storm, and it's all yours. That woman's actions didn't just hurt you, they cost her something. When you rise against someone anointed, you don't just face their strength, you face the hand of God. And the fallout is spiritual, not always seen by eyes, but felt in the weight of regret, in doors that begin to close, in the silence that follows pride. You may never witness her apology, and you may never hear her confession, but you will feel the release in your soul, because God has taken the pain and turned it into peace. Now is the time to rebuild, to take back the parts of yourself that felt small, quiet, or unsure during that season. Lift your head again. Walk with boldness again. Speak with joy again. You are not marked by betrayal, you are marked by God's love. You don't carry the title of the one who was hurt. You carry the name, the one God protected. That identity is powerful. It's healing. And it's enough. God will not waste your tears, not a single one. Every time you felt confused or isolated, every moment your heart broke from realizing what was really happening behind your back, it all mattered. And now, the Lord is sending beauty for ashes. He is sending laughter where sorrow lived. He is preparing people who will love you rightly, speak to you truthfully, and stand beside you with no hidden motives. Every second you wait, wealth meant for you slips into someone else's hands. A hidden brainwave, once buried in CIA files, has been proven to awaken unstoppable prosperity. In just 7 minutes, you can unlock the switch inside your mind that draws abundance like a magnet. This is more than an opportunity, it is destiny knocking. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate your hidden wealth wave right now. You don't have to rush into anything. Healing takes time, and there is no pressure in God's presence. But as you rest, He works. As you let go, He builds. And as you step forward, even in small ways, He meets you with peace that settles your spirit in a way nothing else can. Your safety was never in people. It was always in Him. That's why even when people failed you, He never did. There's a kind of restoration happening now that isn't just about feeling better. It's about seeing clearer, about loving yourself the way God always has, about trusting that you are never too far from redemption, never too wounded for healing, never too broken for joy. You are the proof that grace walks quietly, but changes everything it touches. Let today be the start of new things, not just because she was stopped, but because you are free. Free to live, to love, to breathe without the weight of betrayal on your back. The woman who tried to break you could never define you. Only God can do that. And what He's spoken over your life is still true, still beautiful, still unfolding. Just 3 hours ago, what she meant to send into your life came back into hers with force. It didn't just disrupt her, it exposed everything. And while her plans crumble around her, you are stepping into a season of release, rest, and renewal. What she tried to damage, I have already restored. Type 555 if you believe God always has the final word over your life. There's something quiet and sacred happening in your life right now. You may not feel the full weight of the shift yet, but it's coming. The battle has ended. The storm has passed. And now, your soul is beginning to recognize the stillness that follows the struggle. What you endured wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. The weight you carried, the confusion, the way your energy faded without explanation, it was all part of what was happening beneath the surface. But even then, you were never alone. Even in the silence, heaven was speaking. The Lord never once left your side. While you cried in secret, He was wrapping you in His presence. While you questioned why things felt heavy, He was shielding you from what could have crushed you. You didn't need to know every detail to be protected. That's the kind of Father He is, faithful. Even when you don't understand the full picture, that woman's actions were deliberate. She may have smiled in public and said all the right things, but her heart was far from clean. She fed on resentment, on envy, on the desire to bring harm without ever being seen. But God sees all, and He waits. Not because He is slow, but because He is just. He gives every person space to choose repentance. And when they don't, He responds not out of anger, but out of righteousness. That's what happened to her. She reached for your peace and found herself caught in the very storm she sent. You didn't need to defend yourself. You didn't need to shout. You didn't need to match her energy. Your strength was in your restraint. Your power was in your peace. You chose to let God fight for you, and now you're seeing the fruit of that faith. The battle wasn't yours, it was His all along. And when God steps in, He settles everything. Type 333 if you know God is settling things for you right now. This is not the time to replay the past in your mind. Don't look back. Don't go searching for more answers. Don't let your thoughts wander back to what she said, what she did, or why she did it. That chapter is closed. Not by your effort, but by God's hand. And when God closes a door, it stays shut. The healing you need now isn't going to come from explanations. It's going to come from resting in the truth that you were always in God's hands. Let your heart begin to breathe again. Let your soul lean into safety. You don't have to carry the tension anymore. You don't have to pretend you're okay. You are becoming okay. You are healing. You are growing. You are walking lighter now because the burden has been lifted. The one who tried to curse you has no more access to your life, your thoughts, or your heart. She cannot speak into your future because she is no longer part of it. You are stepping into a season where your spirit will recover, where laughter will return without effort, where you will wake up and feel joy without needing to force it. That is what God is doing for you, restoring what was stolen in the most quiet and holy ways. And you don't need to explain your healing to anyone. Just walk in it, live in it, let your peace be the evidence. What the enemy meant for destruction has been flipped into a foundation for something new, something deeper, something lasting. You have been changed by this, yes, but not broken, not bitter. You are wiser, clearer, more rooted in God than ever before. And now, He will begin to unfold blessings that are tied to what you endured, not as a reward for surviving, but as a continuation of His faithfulness. She thought she could stop something in you, but instead she revealed something stronger. You are unshakable in God's hands. And the more she pressed, the more you were pulled into His arms. That's why you're still here. That's why your name is still standing. That's why the attacks never took root, because you were anchored in love, in truth, in grace, and nothing can break what God holds. Don't wait for her to make it right. Don't hold space in your heart for apologies that may never come. That space is being filled now with peace, with promise, with new beginnings. You are allowed to move on. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to feel joy again, even while she deals with her choices. Her pain is hers. Your peace is yours. The struggles you've faced were never your fault. A hidden brain frequency, once buried in secret research, has been silently holding back your wealth. Now, for the first time, it is available to you, and it only takes minutes to activate. Imagine the chains of debt breaking, the doors of opportunity opening, and your life flooding with prosperity. This chance may never return. Click the link in the video description and comments below to claim it now. This is how God writes stories, not with revenge, but with redemption. Not with loud announcements, but with quiet miracles. You didn't just survive her betrayal, you were preserved through it. Not because you're perfect, but because God decided your life was too precious to be defined by someone else's brokenness. So step into this next part with open hands. Leave bitterness behind. Leave questions behind. You don't need to carry the burden of understanding everything. God understood, and that was enough. He acted, and that's all that matters now. Let your healing speak. Let your peace shine. Let your life reflect the mercy that covered you. But I knew. I allowed it to reach that point not to harm you, but to show you how deeply I protect those who belong to me. You didn't see what was happening behind the scenes, but I did, and I dealt with it in my perfect timing. Type Amen if you believe God always rescues at the right time. You didn't deserve what happened. You didn't ask for the betrayal. You weren't seeking conflict. All you wanted was peace, to live your life with integrity, to love others with sincerity, to serve me with your whole heart. And somehow, that purity triggered something bitter inside her. She couldn't understand the light in you because she never let me heal the darkness in her. She let jealousy grow in secret. She let resentment take root, and instead of coming to me with her pain, she turned it into a weapon aimed straight at you. But child, no weapon formed against you can succeed when I am your shield. Even when the arrows fly in silence, even when no one else sees it, I do. I hear the lies before they're spoken. I catch the plans before they're made. I protect you not only from the harm you expect, but from the attacks you never even knew existed. That's the kind of father I am. You may have wondered why I stayed quiet while it was happening. You may have questioned why it felt like she was getting away with it, but my silence was not absence. I was gathering every piece, watching every move, waiting until her heart made its final choice, until she decided fully and clearly that she would not turn back. And when that moment came, I moved, swiftly, quietly, completely. That's why she was struck by the very thing she intended for you. Her own plan betrayed her, her own bitterness undid her, and you were spared. Type 1919 to receive miracles meant for your protection and restoration. This isn't about revenge. I didn't act to make you feel superior. I moved because your heart mattered. Because I care about every part of you. The pain you were carrying was stealing your peace, your sleep, your joy. It was slowing you down, keeping you in a place I never designed for you to stay in. I didn't want you living under that shadow anymore, so I removed it. And I did it in a way that leaves no confusion. She cannot touch you again. Not in spirit, not in heart, not in soul. Now comes the rebuilding. Not because you've been destroyed, but because you've been preserved. Your heart may still feel sore, your mind may still replay the betrayal. That's normal. But let me take that weight from you. Let me walk with you through the healing. You don't have to rush. You don't have to pretend you're fine. I know the depth of what you went through, and I am here for every part of the recovery. I'm not just healing you from what she did, I'm healing you from what it made you believe about yourself. That you were too much, or not enough, that you were easy to leave, easy to wound. That's not true. Those are the lies planted by the pain, but they're not rooted in me. You are enough. You are deeply loved. You are seen, known, chosen, and protected. Your value doesn't rise and fall based on someone else's broken heart. It is fixed in my love, and that can never be shaken. You've learned a lot from this, about people, about trust, about yourself, and while it's painful, it's also sacred. You have wisdom now that you didn't have before. You see more clearly. You feel more deeply. You understand more fully. And all of that will serve you in the next season I'm leading you into. Because you're not going backward. You're not returning to what once was. I'm doing something new, something beautiful. And it begins with the peace that's entering your life now. This peace is not fragile. It's not temporary. It's not dependent on your circumstances. It's a gift from me. A kind of peace that wraps around you like a warm blanket on a cold day. A peace that doesn't need to be explained. A peace that stays, even when life is uncertain. That's what I'm giving you now. Not just because the storm has ended, but because I want you to rest. Truly rest. Not just in body, but in soul. Let go of the need to fix what was broken. You don't need to repair that relationship. You don't need to make her understand what she did. That's not your job. That's mine. And I've already begun that work in her. Your job now is to heal, to walk in the light again, to lift your head and know that this was not the end of anything. It was the beginning of something far better. I am restoring joy to you, real joy. The kind that bubbles up for no reason. The kind that fills rooms with laughter. The kind that wakes you up smiling. That's coming. I am restoring relationships. Ones that are true, kind, steady, and safe. I am opening doors, not just opportunities, but blessings. I'm surrounding you with people who carry my heart, who speak truth, who honor you, who walk beside you without hidden motives. You've waited long enough. You've suffered long enough. You've stayed faithful even when you didn't feel strong. And now, it's time to receive. Not just recovery, but beauty. Not just healing, but wholeness. I'm doing this because I love you, because I've seen every silent battle, because you are mine. What if you could unlock a secret brainwave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Every delay is a missed blessing, and those who act now are already walking into the wealth you deserve. Step forward before the door closes. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. You stood through the pain with grace. You could have spoken out, defended yourself, matched her energy, but you didn't. You chose silence, not because you were weak, but because you trusted me. You placed your hurt before me instead of placing it into the hands of the world. You cried in secret, prayed in whispers, and held your head high even as her lies circled around you. I saw it all. Every moment you wanted to give up but chose to hold on. Every time you felt the weight of injustice but still chose to walk in peace. You were never alone. Every step of this painful journey was covered in my presence. Even when it felt like she was winning, even when her voice seemed louder than your truth, even when others believed her before they believed you, I was still moving. I was still shifting hearts, protecting your future, and preparing a turning point so perfect it could only come from heaven. Her fall didn't come because you wished it. It came because she chose deception over truth, cruelty over kindness, pride over repentance. I gave her time to turn away, to stop, to soften, but she didn't. She grew bolder in her attacks, more calculated, more harmful. And when her heart hardened completely, I stepped in, not to destroy her, but to protect you. What she's facing now is the result of touching something holy: your purpose, your peace, your destiny. These are not things the enemy can snatch from you, no matter how hard he tries or who he uses. And though you still carry the soreness of what you walked through, you can rest now knowing that justice has been served, not by your hand, not through revenge, but through divine order. Type 2323 if you believe your name is still protected in heaven, even when it's attacked on earth. You don't need to hold on to the pain any longer. You don't need to replay the betrayal in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. The truth is, her harm was never about your failure. It was about the light in you that disturbed the darkness in her. It was about your peace that made her unrest grow, your joy that she couldn't understand, your favor that she resented. This was a spiritual battle disguised as a personal one, but you have won. Because I was with you all along. Let yourself breathe now. Let yourself feel the calm after the storm. You're not imagining it, it's real. The weight you've carried is lifting. The ache in your chest is easing, and the path ahead is clearer than it's been in a long time. You don't need to look back. You don't need to try to understand why she did what she did. I will handle her heart. I will deal with the pain she caused, and I will do it with truth and justice, just as I have always done. Now it's time for you to rebuild, not from a place of loss, but from a place of love.